since it is 8 o'clock already passed, we can start. Kiran, can you read? You have the text, Kiran?
Yes, Rangana.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead, read.
Okay. The integral yoga meets. Shall I start?
Yes, start.
The integral yoga meets the religious ideal at several points, but goes beyond it in the sense of a greater wideness. The religious ideal books not only beyond this earth, but away from it to a heaven or even beyond all heavens to some kind of nirvana. Its ideal of perfection is limited to whatever kind of inner or outer mutation will eventually serve the turning away of the soul from the human life to the beyond. Its ordinary idea of perfection is a religio-ethical change, a drastic purification of the active and the emotional being, often with an ascetic abrogation and rejection of the vital impulses as its completest reaching of excellence, and in any case the supra-terrestrial motive and reward or result of a life of pity and right conduct. In so far as it meets a change of knowledge, will asceticism, it is in the sense of the turning of them to another object than the aims of human life, and eventually brings a rejection of all earthly objects of aesthesis, will and knowledge. The method, whether it lays stress on personal effort or upon divine influence, on works and knowledge or upon grace, is not like the mundane or development, but rather a conversion. But in the end, the aim is not a conversion of our mental and physical nature, but the putting on of a pure spiritual nature and being. And since that is not possible here on earth, it looks for its consummation by a transference to another world or shuffling of all cosmic existence.
Okay. He is again linking what we are reading now with the paragraph, with the chapter that he has said earlier. He has said that the four aims of existence, he has already told us. The material existence can have an aim in life. Then the religious also, the supra-terrestrial also can have an aim, and an aim which is outside the universe. Then there is the supra-cosmic, those who disappear into the infinite. Then he comes to his own integral yoga. So he is examining one by one the other aims, if they have any validity and relevance to the integral yoga. So he has told us first about the physical world, that you don't reject the physical world. So it has got a relevance to the integral yoga. Now he is coming to the religious thing. Does religion and integral yoga have a common ground? That's what he's examining. Okay. So, and then next he will take up also with the other one, supra cosmic. And then finally he'll come to his own integral perfection. I'm reading each sentence. Okay. But the integral yoga, sorry, is the other one. The integral yoga meets the religious ideal at several points, but goes beyond it in the sense of a greater wideness. It does not deny religion, but it rejects all the narrownesses of the religion in a greater wideness. After all, religious aim is also to go to God in different ways. Okay? The religious ideal looks not only beyond this earth, but away from it to a heaven, or even beyond all heavens to some kind of nirvana. So, all religions, they say that God cannot be found in the physical world, but they can be found in the religions, not philosophies, religions. So, he can be found only in the higher levels of consciousness. The religious ideal looks not only beyond this earth, but away from it to a heaven, or even beyond all heavens to some kind of nirvana. Okay? Some kind of nirvana, because there are so many different grades and gradations. See, its ideal of perfection is limited to whatever kind of inner or outer mutation will eventually serve the turning away of the soul from human life to the beyond. So all religion in different ways ask you to go away from the physical world because of its permanent imperfection and go to the higher levels in whatever way you can. Different religions have different ideas. Its ordinary idea of perfection, that of religion, is a religio-ethical change. It's based on religion, but it's mainly a ethical change. Be moral. Okay? Don't indulge in sin. That's their idea. A drastic purification of the active and emotional being, which is the active being, the body, and the emotional being, the vital, often with an ascetic abrogation and rejection of the vital impulses as its completest reaching of excellence, and in any case, a supra-terrestrial motive and reward or result of a life of piety and right conduct. Piety, the word piety means respect for adults and ancestors. Okay? So, right conduct. So, this is what he's saying. We'll look at the sentence a little more carefully. Its ordinary idea of perfection is a religio-ethical change, a moral change. Get away from sin and all that is evil. A drastic purification of the active and the emotional being. Okay. Now, we use the word drastic purification because they go to the extent of mortifying the body. Even in our Indian system, you do fasting. Okay. You deny all this, you do the fasting. So that also is a drastic purification. And in Christianity, they also do that. But even worse, they make the body suffer. Okay, if you have read that the Da Vinci Code novel, there you will see how they actually torture the body so that the body's demands becomes less. It's a wrong way, of course, but that's what they do. Okay, and even in Islam, they flog themselves. Okay, and in Christianity, sometimes they even crucify themselves. Okay, and lying on it in India, the idea of lying on a bed of nails and all these things are there. Okay? So, in every religion, these ideas are there. That the body is the obstacle. So discourage its activities to whatever extent you can. Not only discourage, but even mortify it. Okay? That's the idea. That's why I said there is a drastic purification of the active. Active means the body and the emotional being, often with an acidic abrogation and rejection of the vital impulses. Okay? You reject the physical world and also the vital. Okay? You actually deny your desires, but in the process you also kill the vital in the religious ideals as its completest reaching of excellence. So if you want complete excellence, you have to deny the body as well as the vital. And in any case, a supra-terrestrial motive and reward or result of a life of piety and right conduct. So Srimad is referring to supra-terrestrial reward. It is there in Christianity as well as it is there in Islam. In Islam, you have 72 virgins waiting for you in heaven. And in Christianity, if you have not been moral, you go to hell and burn there forever. And if you have been a good soul, done good things, okay, been good, moral, then you go to heaven and enjoy eternal pleasures. Delight, if you want. Insofar as it admits a change of knowledge, will, essences, it is in the sense of the turning of them to another object than the aims of human life, and eventually brings a rejection of all earthly objects of essences, will, and knowledge. Now, note interestingly, then even earthly objects of aesthesis. Okay, even in India, it was like that. Okay, dancing was an acting. All these things, even today, from very good families, they will not allow their children to go and become actors. Okay, so it's a evil. You can't go there and do all this. Dancing also. In fact, dancing was restricted only to the temple, the Devadasis. So this idea was there everywhere. Okay, deny the aims of human life and eventually reject all earthly objects of aesthesis. Dancing and all these things are objects of aesthesis, will and knowledge. So deny all this. The method, whether it lays stress on personal effort or upon divine influence, on works and knowledge, or upon grace, is not like the mundane a development, but rather a conversion. So he's giving you the difference between a mundane ideal, which is a development of yourself, body, mind, life, but in the religions, it is a conversion. Maximum. Mostly you reject body, mind, life. But if you accept also to a certain extent, only a conversion. But in the end, the aim is not a conversion of our mental and physical nature, but the putting on of a purely spiritual nature and being. And since that is not possible here on earth, it looks for its consummation by transference to another world or a shuffling off of all cosmic existence. So in the religious ideals, you are rejecting the physical world mostly. In some way or other, you are rejecting the physical world. Chandra is stressing that, but he is saying also what is common to the integral yoga and all these different aims: the material aim, the religious aim, then the supra-cosmic aim, and then finally the integral. The difference between supra-cosmic and supra-terrestrial is clear, I hope. Supra-terrestrial means in the spiritual planes of consciousness. Supra-cosmic means even that you are rejecting, like the Buddhists and the Mayavadis, outside the cosmos. Now we can read the next one. But the integral yoga found itself. So what about the integral yoga with relation to the religion? He is going to discuss now. So, Yasmin, you have the text, you can read.
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead. But the integral yoga.
But the integral yoga founds itself on a conception of the spiritual being as an omnipresent existence, the fullness of which comes not essentially by a transference to the other worlds or a cosmic self-extinction, but by a growth out of what we now are phenomenally into the consciousness of the omnipresent reality which we always are in the essence of our being. It substitutes for the form of religious piety its completer spiritual seeking of a divine union. It proceeds by a personal effort to a conversion through a divine influence and possession. But this divine grace, if we may so call it, is not simply a mysterious flow or touch coming from above, but the all-pervading act of a divine presence, which we come to know within as the power of the highest self and master of our being, entering into the soul and so possessing it that we not only feel it close to us and pressing upon our mortal nature, but live in its law, know that law, possess it as the whole power of our spiritual nature. The conversion, its action, will effect in an integral conversion of our ethical being into the truth and right of the divine nature, of our intellect, of our intellectual into the illumination of divine knowledge, our emotional into the divine love and unity, our dynamic and volitional into a working of the divine power, our aesthetic into a plenary reception and a creative enjoyment of divine beauty, not excluding even in the end, a divine conversion of the vital and physical being. It regards all the previous lives as as an involuntary and unconscious or half-conscious preparatory growing towards this change, and yoga as the voluntary and conscious effort and realization of the change by which all the aim of human existence in all its part is fulfilled, even while it is transfigured. Admitting the supracosmic truth and life in worlds beyond, it admits too the terrestrial as a continued term of our one existence and a change of individual and communal life on earth as a strain of its divine meaning.
So, there are many words which also we should know. For instance, you use the word as a strain of its divine meaning. So, as a branch, okay, as an offshoot. So, we'll do one thing. I'll read the summary of this, what he said first, and then we'll go back to each sentence. The summary of what he said. These are my words, okay, you won't find it in the text. The central principle of the integral yoga sees things in another way, unlike the mundane and the religious views. It does not agree fully with the mundane, nor does it agree with the religious views fully. It sees in another way. What does it see? The integral yoga bases itself on the principle of an omnipresent divine reality. The divine is everywhere. The divine is at the transcendental level outside the universe. He is there in the universe, the cosmic, and is also there in the individual, okay? Which is not what the religions accept. Okay? The religions don't accept that, but she is accepting all. There is nothing to transcend, reject, or choose in the integral yoga. We are not transcending the earth because we accept the earth. We don't reject the earth also, and nor do we choose any. All is the divine reality. All is the divine reality. There is no need to reject the earthly existence and retire to a heaven beyond. What is required in the integral yoga is a growth out of man's ignorant nature to a divine nature which is always present, so hidden, inherent in man. The divine is there outside the universe, in the universe, and in man. So all you have to do is to develop that growth. It's a growth. It's not something putting on of a new thing which you don't have. You already have it in you, in the seed form. So you have to just develop it. Just as a seed, if you put it on the table, it will never produce a tree. But if you take that seed and put it in the ground and give it sufficient nutrition, and also water, and give the right conditions and see that the sun also reaches it, it will give a tree. Exactly in the same way, you also have to do. And what is the watering and making sure of the nutrition? Your yoga. By yoga, you can make this divine reality within you, it can grow. It's a growth out of man's ignorant nature to a divine nature which is always present, so hidden, inherent in man. The religious piety is replaced by the aspiration for complete union with the divine. The mundane perfection is uplifted to a divine perfection. See, there is common ground, okay? But changes are there. The integral yoga, by the integral yoga does this, okay? Go to a divine perfection by personal effort and the divine grace, which is not only descending from above, but which is already latent and secret in the deep heart of man. Okay, it is already there. So it has only to be uncovered, known, possessed, and lived. It's not acquiring something new, it's already there in you. This grace, which is a power, affects a conversion. It affects a conversion. What conversion? He is telling. The ethical being becomes the truth and the right of the divine. The moral becomes the truth and right of the divine, not of the mind. In morality, the truth and right are the mind made. But in the integral yoga, truth and right come from the divine. The next conversion, the intellect becomes an illumination of the divine knowledge. And our dynamic and volitional being, vital, becomes divine power. So your body must become an instrument of the divine power. It must receive the divine power. Your mind must get knowledge, and your ethical being must also, the right and wrong must belong to the divine. This is what he's saying in the summary. Now we can go through each sentence and see what he's saying. He has told us what the religious perfection is and its relation to the integral yoga. Now he is talking about the integral yoga. But the integral yoga founds itself on a conception of the spiritual being as an omnipresent existence. The divine is there in the physical world. And unlike the religion, the integral yoga does not reject the physical world. Founds itself on a conception of the spiritual being as an omnipresent existence. It is there everywhere. The fullness of which comes not essentially by transference to other worlds or a cosmic self-extinction, but by growth out of what we now are phenomenally into the consciousness of the omnipresent reality, which we always are in the essence of our being. Every word of his is pregnant with meaning. So we have to go through each one. Okay? He's saying the fullness of the imperfection in the integral yoga comes not by a transference to other worlds. So who is doing this? The religions are transferring you to another world. Here you will not find any perfection, so you have to go to the higher levels of consciousness. But the integral yoga does not do that. It finds it here in the world itself. But by growth out of what we now are, phenomenally. Phenomenally means you think you are the body-mind life, that's it, phenomenally, you are conscious. Into the consciousness of the omnipresent reality, which we always are in the essence of our being. So you have to transfer your identification with the body-mind life, which is a phenomenon, into the consciousness of the psychic being or the self. Okay? This is the work to be done. Not running away from the physical world and going elsewhere, like the religions advise you to do. Okay? Essence of our being. It substitutes for the form of religious piety. It's complete a spiritual seeking of a divine union. Religious piety, worship of ancestors and giving proper respect to your ideal parents and all, it is replaced by a spiritual seeking of divine union. It proceeds by a personal effort. So you have to make a personal effort. To a conversion to a divine influence and possession. So first of all, the divine influences you, and finally the divine must possess you. But this divine grace, if we may call it so call it, is not simply a mysterious flow or touch coming from above, but the all-pervading act of a divine presence, which we come to know within as the power of the highest self and master of our being, entering into the soul and so possessing. Okay. Now the word so, okay, and so possessing it that we not only feel it close to us and pressing upon our mortal nature, but live in its law, know that law, possess it as the whole power of our spiritual nature. So that word so is interesting, you see. You have to interpret it correctly. Entering into the soul and so possessing in this way, okay, that's what it means. And possessing in such a manner, so means that in such a manner that we not only feel it close to us, but we can live in it, okay, and know that law, possess it as the whole power of our spiritualized nature. It's not just an idea, you can actually live it and possess it. That's it. The other day, I was having a discussion with some students, okay, and some of them said, "And the idea of the divine is so theoretical." So this is exactly what Srendra is denying here. It is not at all theoretical. It's the most practical thing. Okay? You can actually live it and know the laws. Okay? It is something very, very real. That's what Srendra. Live in its law, know that law, and possess it as a whole power of our spiritualized nature. The conversion, what does the conversion do? Its action, the conversion, its action will affect is an integral conversion of our ethical being into the truth and right of the divine nature. What is our moral ideas of what is good and what is the beautiful and the right becomes the right and truth of the divine nature, not mental nature. Of our intellectual into the illumination of divine knowledge, our emotional into the divine love and unity, our dynamic and volitional into a working of the divine power, aesthetic, and a plenary reception and a creative enjoyment of divine beauty, not excluding, even in the end, a divine conversion of the vital and the physical. So, Srendra is going so far as to say, not only the vital will be converted, but even the physical being will be converted. And what does the physical being conversion mean? The abolition of death, disease. It recalls all the previous life as an involuntary and unconscious or half-conscious preparatory growing towards this stage. Now, this is very interesting because some people feel that there is a difference between ordinary life and spiritual life. Mother says very clearly, no. Everything is spiritual in a certain sense. So this is what Srendra is saying in different words. He's saying it regards all the previous life as a part of his spiritual life, okay? Because it was involuntary and unconscious or half-conscious preparatory growing towards this change. It wasn't a mundane life. It was part of his spiritual life in the preparatory stages. Okay? So this is very interesting what he's saying in different words. We do not think that there is a difference between mundane life and spiritual life. Spirituality includes everything, even the ordinary life. Towards this change, and yoga as a voluntary and conscious effort and realization of the change. So, when you are not doing yoga, the change is involuntary and unconscious, and it's a preparatory stage. And when you do yoga, it's a voluntary and conscious effort, and the realization of the change by which all the aim of human existence in all its parts is fulfilled, even while it is transfigured. Here, we are not rejecting the body mind life. With our personal effort and with the help of the divine, we are changing even the body mind life. Admitting the supracosmic truth and life in worlds beyond, it admits too the terrestrial as a continued term of the one existence and a change of individual and communal life on earth as a strain of its divine being. Is one of the a strain is a tendency, okay? As a tendency of the divine being. Change even of communal life on earth. Okay? Not only individual life, but communal. This is aspect of spirituality, which is there throughout all history. Not only must the individual become spiritual, but even the communal life also must become spiritual. That's the reason why we have Auroville and the ashram. Now again, we have got 10 minutes more, so we can go to the next para to open oneself to the Sutra. Sima, if you have got the text, you can read. If you don't have, then Shilpa will read or Sunki will read. Sunki can read.
Yes, shall I
Sunki, go
read?
ahead. Yeah, please go ahead.
To open oneself to the supracosmic divine is an essential condition of this integral perfection. To unite oneself with the universal divine is another essential condition. Here, the yoga of self-perfection coincides with the yogas of knowledge, works, and devotion. For it is impossible to change the human nature into the divine, or to make it an instrument of the divine knowledge, will, and joy of existence, unless there is a union with the supracosmic being, consciousness, and bliss, and a unity with its universal self in all things and beings. A wholly separative possession of the divine nature by the human individual, as distinct from a self-withdrawn absorption in it, is not possible. But this unity will not be an inmost spiritual oneness qualified so long as the human life lasts by a separative existence in mind, life, and body. The full perfection is a possession through this spiritual unity of a unity too with the universal mind, the universal life, the universal form, which are the other constant terms of a cosmic being. Moreover, since human life is still accepted as a self-expression of the realized divine in man, there must be an action of the entire divine nature in our life. And this brings in the need of the supramental conversion, which substitutes the native action of a spiritual being for the imperfect action of the superficial nature and spiritualizes and transfigures its mental, vital, and physical parts by the spiritual ideality. These three elements, a union with the Supreme Divine, union with the Universal Self, and the supramental life action from this transcendent origin and through this universality, but still with the individual as the sole channel and natural instrument, constitute the essence of the integral divine perfection of the human being.
So, further descriptions of what the spiritual life is in an integral yoga. To open oneself to the supracosmic divine is an essential condition of this integral perfection. To unite oneself with the universal divine is another essential condition. So, therefore, here the yoga of self-perfection coincides with the yoga of knowledge, works, and devotion. So, all the yoga of Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, the integral yoga admits as valid, not exclusively, but inclusively. For it is explaining why. Okay, for it is impossible to change the human nature into the divine, or to make it an instrument of the divine knowledge, will, and joy of existence, unless there is a union with the Supreme Being, consciousness and bliss. Okay. Again, Srimad is going on stressing Supreme Being, Sat, consciousness, Chit, and bliss, Ananda. It has to be a complete possession by Satchidananda, and you must also possess the Satchidananda. Unless there is a union with the Supreme Being, consciousness and bliss, and a unity with its universal self in all things and beings. So not only you identify yourself with the transcendent, but also the universal self. And a wholly separated possession of the divine nature by the human individual as distinct from a self-withdrawn absorption in it is not possible. It's not possible for the integral yoga. The integral yoga does not, like the supracosmic, disappear into the infinite, even outside the cosmos. The same way saying that's not possible for the integral yoga. Integral yoga, you must include all, the cosmos as well as the individual existence. But this unity will not be an inmost spiritual oneness qualified so long as the human life lasts by separative existence in mind, life, and body. What is separate existence? The ego. When you are in a separate existence in mind, life, and body, you have the ego. So you have to change that also. Whereas in the other yogas, you don't bother about the yoga, the ego at all. You just reject it and go up and live up. Okay. But here you want to come down to the physical world. Therefore, the ego also has to surrender and become part of the spiritual, disappear and become the true individual. It has to become part of the yoga. The full perfection is a possession through the spiritual unity, of unity too with the universal mind, the universal life, the universal form. Universal form, body, matter, which are the other constant terms of our cosmic being. We have a constant term of a cosmic being is the self and the psyche, and also body, mind, life also are there. They are also part of the cosmic. Moreover, since human life is still accepted as a self-expression of the realized divine in man, there must be an action of the entire divine nature in our life. Okay, not outside, but in the life. And this brings in the need of a supramental conversion, which substitutes the native action of spiritual being for the imperfect action of the superficial nature, and spiritualizes and transfigures, not spiritual, sorry, superficial nature. Superficial nature is the body, mind, life. So the superficial nature, which is called the lower prakriti, apara prakriti, has to become the para prakriti. It has to become divine nature, and spiritualizes and transfigures its mental, vital, and physical parts by the spiritual ideality. These three elements, a union with the supreme divine, transcendent, unity with the universal self, cosmic consciousness, and a supramental life action from this transcendent origin, and through this universality, but still with the individual as a sole channel and natural instrument, constitute the essence of the interior divine perfection in the human being. So, the individual is very much stressed in the interior yoga, whereas in religion, the individual is of no importance at all. You have to go only to the cosmic consciousness. The individual doesn't play a part. But in the interior yoga, the individual has to become a divine instrument. And that is the reason why he has to not reject the body, mind, life, but transfigure it. That's what it is. So, 8:38. So, we can't read anymore. Oh, we have finished the chapter. So now the next chapter is the psychology of self-perfection. How do you bring about this self-perfection? He has told us that it's an individual effort. So the individual effort now, what can the individual do to get self-perfection? We'll take it up next time. The page is 623. New chapter. Okay? Okay. Au revoir, everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Rama.
Okay.
Bye-bye.